Hi guys, this is me, Rusty, 78609 Central Texas, USA, from the dark side of the moon here. Notice this eye is darker than this one, and the reason is the lighting in my studio is not the greatest in the world. It's not the worst, but it's not the greatest. This is green tea, but it's not green. I have this with 4 dark chocolate almonds after I get back from my walk in the morning, and I just got back. This is May 9th, 2016. It's about 9:54 a.m. and the temperature here in Central Texas, USA is about 72 degrees. Not bad, a little humid for this part of Texas. But anyway, I got a comment from a viewer asking me who I thought, even though it doesn't matter, but he asked me who I thought would make a good vice president to be picked by Donald Trump. Well, I thought about it and I looked at some of the options, and after reading a little bit and going back through my own history, which is 70 years long, I remember a fella named Newt Gingrich. And he's been a university teacher. He's a historian. And I believe, let's see if I can find it here just a second. He became, let's see, okay, he was, let's go in chronological order here. Okay, from January 1979 to January 1999, he was in the House of Representatives from Georgia, 6th District of Georgia. So that's 20 years in the House. He was the House Minority Whip from 1989 to 1995. He was the 50th Speaker of the United States House of Representatives from 1995 to 1999. So, therefore, he's an American politician, a historian. He's also an author, and he's been a political consultant for, I guess, since 1999. But anyway, so what that means is Newt Gingrich knows how the game is played, the real game, inside the Beltway in Washington, D.C. And even though Donald Trump, I'm sure, is quite knowledgeable about the overall system, you got to know what makes the little gears turn inside the machine. And I think Newt Gingrich would be an excellent choice. Actually, I think Newt Gingrich would make a good president. Why? He's honest. He appears honest. He's a good speaker. He comes off trustworthy. In other words, even my sisters like Newt Gingrich. So anyway, I think in answer to the question from the viewer, who do I think would make a good vice president with Donald Trump, I, without reservation, would say Newt Gingrich. And it looks like, based on what I've picked up in the media, there is some dust being raised to pick Newt Gingrich, because one of the things Donald Trump did admit at the beginning is that he's not a politician. And what I think would be great if in the Oval Office, that as he runs into these situations where things aren't getting done, he could confide in his vice president with confidence and know that the input he was getting was as reliable as you're going to get inside the Beltway. So that is the answer to that question. He's 70. He was born in 1943, so that makes him 72. And in my opinion, that is not an obstacle. That's actually a big plus, because as those of you out there that are my age or about No, when you're 40, you think you know everything. When you're 50, you know everything. And when you're 60, there can't be any more to learn. However, when you're 70, you look back and you realize there's quite a bit. And also, one of the things that happens as you age, in my opinion, at least it has for me, is you become more patient. I mean, all of a sudden, a deal doesn't have to be done right now. In other words, we can think on it a day or two. And that's, if there's an incoming missile, well, we better get going. But, if there's a deal like the deal with Iran, those things you kind of mull over and think about for a few days before you jump in on them. So I do think Newt Gingrich, and I think that would be a very powerful presidential ticket. I don't think there would be anyone any stronger. I feel very, uh, let me say this. I think it's a disturbing time in our country. Maybe everyone feels that way at some time in their life, but I have never felt like this. I mean, I feel like our country is right at a real crossroads that maybe we haven't been at before. And the crossroads is, are we going to try to maintain our moral values, our morality, or our humanity, or are we going to go off and spin off into outer space and go with the LGBTs and everybody else? Uh, the people that are out of touch with the whole goddamn universe, in my opinion. And some of the people inside the Beltway get caught up in this whirlwind of liberalism, and all of a sudden it looks real. I mean, it becomes reality. The people in Kansas don't think that. Most of the people in California don't think that, or in Texas. So I think this pair, if Trump is elected, would bring some sanity back, and also, uh, appoint an attorney general with a brain. I listened to a speech by a black uh, police chief. I'm not sure, he was from somewhere, I think in Indiana, and but he was speaking before a subcommittee in the House of Representatives about what had happened in the Carolinas and so forth, and he pointed out very clearly that prior to that event, police officers across this nation looked to the Attorney General Office of the United States for support. Okay, they look to that as the ultimate law enforcement agency, which it's supposed to be. But he pointed out also that because of what happened in the Carolinas, that the police no longer feel that way because um, Eric Holder swooped in there with his entourage and immediately began to criticize the police force, their actions, and not only there but across the U.S. And of course, it wasn't too long before he was asked to resign, and he did. He really overstepped his powers, but it's just through ignorance, just stupidity, and you can't have that kind of mistake. But be that as it may, I think you'll have a cabinet appointed that are people that will work. Number one, you got to work with the police department. Would you want their job? Would you want to go in the ghetto in some of these big cities and try to arrest some drug dealer? I don't think I do. But you got to support those guys, even though you may not agree with the way they handle certain situations, and they do make mistakes. We're human. But let's don't go crazy. Uh, about it. And this racism shit, I'm sick of it. I'm totally sick of black on white, white on black bullshit. I'm tired of the Jesse Jacksons and all this crap. And I really believe that given uh, a Trump presidency for 8 years, that you would see this country completely change. And in my opinion, and I believe everyone's opinion in the United States, would at 8 years from now would look back and say, "Hey, you were right, guy." Yeah, I mean, we're a much better country now than we were 8 years ago. But be that as it may, Newt Gingrich for VP. Another thing that happened yesterday that was interesting, I'll just touch on it. I was doing a tasting event for a beer in a grocery store in Central Texas, which I do fairly frequently, about 2 or 3 times a week, 2 times a week maybe. And they last about 3 hours, just a part-time job to give me a little extra money and give me something to do. and it fills both of those objectives. But anyway, a girl came by, and she was a second grade teacher. She was just finishing her second year as a second grade teacher. And anyway, when I came back from the Peace Corps in 1995, I got my alternative teacher certification in Texas, and I taught a special ed behavioral modification in Refugio, Texas for 1 year, and they fired me. I won't get into that. Well, I guess I will if I want to. But anyway, I was talking to her, and I was empathizing with her concerns about, how difficult it is to teach. I mean, it's not easy. Of course, she's second grade. These kids are bouncing off the walls. They're, what is second grade? 7 years old, roughly. Wow. And you got 20 of them in a class, or 28. Hello. So anyway, uh, we were talking about some things, and anyway, she mentioned the fact that some of the kids uh, have kind of adopted through the media this attitude that, they don't know if they're a girl or a boy. Think about that. And they're kind of smart ass about it. They want special treatment. And she said, look, she says, I know I'm a woman. She said, I feel like a woman. I look like a woman. I'm a woman. And I thought, she was about 29, 30 years old, close. She had a little baby, a girl in her with her. Her daughter looked like she was, wasn't a baby, it was probably 4 or 5 years old, child, girl. And, but anyway, she was proud to be a woman. Okay? Now think about that. There's nothing wrong with that. And now the federal government's going to go after the Carolinas, I believe it is, for passing a law, I believe, that basically states that if you're a man, you use the man's restroom, and if you're a woman, you use the woman's. Hello, you know. But enough said about that. But that's our leadership has got us into this situation. The 8 years of Obama has got us to this point. 8 years of Hillary, my God, you know, uh, it'll be a turnip patch. Image telling what it. If you first of all, when I heard about these things years ago, I thought it was just shit. It'll go away. It's just crap. It's just liberal media BS. Well, guess what? All of a sudden now it's reality, and they have to add special restrooms. Or in California, in the school districts, if a guy thinks he's a girl or a girl thinks she's a guy, she can go in any restroom she wants to, and nobody can stop them. Okay? Well, uh, if that was been me and I was in high school, shit, yeah. I mean, I'd be a girl. When the pretty girls went in the restroom, I'm a girl. Hello. I mean, check them out, But, come on, folks. I mean, we don't want to go so far with this liberalism that we lose our humanity. Okay? We are human beings. We are males and females. Now, if you're ACDC or bisexual or whatever, lesbian, queers, gays, whatever you want to call them, that's fine. Be the hell out of it. Be the best rump ranger in the world, okay? But shut the fuck up about it. You know what I mean? Just be it, be it, be it. I'm sure we had them when I was a kid growing up, and I'm sure we had them in our high school. I never knew any, but uh, has it changed since I graduated in 1963? I'll give you an example. We had a high school principal one time. His name was Cy S.I. Pickens. Well, Cy Pickens was a little Anyway, he took a Boy Scout troop out camping one time, and guess what? He did his little funny thing on one of the boys, and that boy told his daddy. And this was in Kennedy, Texas, in 19 probably 60. You don't fuck around in there, okay? Well, I got to tell you this: the town fathers, Cy Pickett, the day that was reported, the next day that principal and the family were gone from that town. Nobody knew where they went. Nobody knew if he got another job. Nobody knew what happened to him. Nobody ever talked about him. He evaporated. Okay, the man was gone. So that's the way it was then, and now this time the way it is now, he would get a raise for that. Okay, he'd get a promotion, and anybody that bitched about it would get fired. Is that a big change? Shit. We don't want to go much further this direction, folks, in my opinion, and I'm sure I'm going to get some hate mail and then And oh crap, do I give a shit? No, no. Let it, bring it on, baby. Bring it on. So anyway, so be it. So that's about it for today. Uh, on teachers, I'll be brief. And talking to that girl, I realized it brought back memories of when I taught for 1 year. Folks, it's not easy to be a school teacher. I got to tell you that. I found it out the hard way. Of course, I was in special ed, toughest part probably. All my kids were on probation. I used to have to go visit with their probation officers. You know, it wasn't easy. And the reason they didn't renew my contract is because I asked a lot of questions. I challenged or questioned authority. Okay, I did. I'd say, why are we doing that? Why don't we do it this way? Well, you can't do that. In fact, I think I may have mentioned this before. The principal called me Floyd. That's my given name. And his name was Tim Freeman, and all the teachers called him Mr. Freeman. Well, he never called me Mr., so I never called him Mr. I just called him Tim. I'd say, hey, Tim, 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 Tim. You know, I'd go in the teacher's lounge. I'd say, hey, morning, Tim. Pissed him off. Woo! Anyway, so what that led to a little meeting in the hall one day in April. The school ends in May. I was walking down the hall. He said he wanted to talk to me. I said, sure, what you got? He said, we're not going to be able to renew your contract. I said, oh, that's a shame. What, you got a big budget cut? You going to lay off some teachers? No. I said, well, then you're firing me, right, Tim? No, we're just not going to renew your contract. I said, then you're firing me. I mean, I can't work here anymore? No. I can't come back next year? No. Then you're firing me, right? No, we're just not going to renew your contract. I said, I hear you. That's typical school jargon. Okay? Anyway, but later, I did enjoy teaching. I got pretty good at it right at the last couple of 3 months. I got better as I went through, and naturally you do. And I applied for a job in Eagle Pass, Texas, and I got the job. It was at a middle school, special ed, behavior management, modification rather. And of course, they have to call your previous school district to get the thumbs up from the principal of that school. And guess what? Oh, Timmy gave me a. He said I was a rabble rouser. Okay. Anyway, that's the way it really works, folks. That's the way it really works. If you question authority at any level, in any bureaucracy, bye. You know, that's probably where I got that. But anyway, enough said about all that poo-poo. And I hope Trump wins. I really do, because if we have 8 years of Hillary, we're, you know, moving down to Guatemala is going to start to look pretty good. Would I do that? No, I'm fine. I'm here in Central Texas. I mean, I'm practically in Guatemala now. None of that shit going on around me. But if I lived in big cities or whatever, I would definitely look at it. I promise you. You know, go to Lake Atilan and where is Lake Atilan? Guatemala. Yeah, it's a retirement area for people. You can check it out. Lake Atilan, Atitlan, Lake Atilan, and it's a really expensive place to retire in Guatemala. A lot of U.S. citizens do it. Enough said about that. Video's gone on long enough, folks. I hope you enjoy your day. I plan to enjoy mine. I'll go upload this video in just a little bit. I gotta fix a few things around here. Thumbs up. Carpe diem. Adios, amigos. Bye. Nope, that's not it. Bye. See, you got to get right at it. You know what I mean? Stop. Whoa thing. Whoa.